I'd like to welcome everyone to the District 5360 Club Learning webinar. My name's Lawrence Nyman. I'll be your host for tonight. Thanks for taking the time to participate in this webinar. Feel free to pour that glass of wine, beer, or whatever beverage you prefer. Our goal is to limit the webinar to 60 minutes. Your video and audio has been turned off. If you have any questions, please input them in the question and answer area, and we'll have a Q&A at the end of the presentation. So tonight's presenter is Jamie Moorhouse. Jamie got into the NGO game about 13 years ago after a friend convinced him to help start a charity called Carpenters for Cambodia. From his first visit to Cambodia, he was hooked on given a helping hand and joined Rotary soon after. International service was and continues to be his main interest. He has chaired the World Community Service Committee at the Rotary Club of Calgary. I'm from Canmore, see, Calgary at Stampede Park, and has been the club director responsible for international service. After a stint as chair of the district grants subcommittee, he took over the role of district foundation chair. So I would like to, at this time, to welcome Jamie.
Thanks, Lawrence. Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. As Lawrence said, I'm Jamie Moorhouse. I'm the current district foundation chair. And so we hear a lot about the Rotary Foundation, and we're often asked to contribute to it. But what is it? What does it do for you? What does it do for your club? And how do you capitalize on it? Well, the Rotary Foundation is a lot of things. And it's, as you can see from this slide, it can be a bit confusing. It's made up of a number of moving parts. And hopefully I'll be able to help sort through this mess a little for you tonight. In order to do that, we're going to talk about a quick intro to the foundation. What is the Rotary Foundation? How can you support the foundation, and how can the foundation support you? In the simplest of terms, the Rotary Foundation is the charitable arm of Rotary International and is the primary provider of funds to further Rotary's mission. So it takes your contributions to the Rotary Foundation and it turns them into life-changing service projects around the world and also here at home. I can personally attest to its power and the fact that the projects not only change the lives of the recipients, but also for the Rotarians involved in them, as it has certainly done that for me. So a little bit of the history. So the Rotary Foundation was founded in 1917 by our sixth president, Arch C. Klump. And it was founded as an endowment, as a way for Rotary to do good in the world. And from that beginning contribution of $26.50 from the Rotary Club of Kansas City, Missouri, the Rotary Foundation has since gone on to accrue more than $4.4 billion in contributions, with over $3.7 billion of that being put right back into communities around the world. I think Mr. Klump would be pleased with the amount of good Rotary is doing with the money. So the mission of the Rotary Foundation is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. To me, the key phrase in there is the enable Rotarians part of it, because that statement is at the heart of the foundation. Its real reason for being. It is here to give Rotarians a way to go out and do what Rotarians do best. And that is make positive change in our communities, both locally and internationally. Now, that change in Rotary has to be in one of what up until this year was 6 areas of focus. This year, we have added there's a 7th area of focus, the environment was added, which is an important addition to our areas of focus, as it opens up a lot of opportunities for Rotary to really dig in and make a significant contribution to our fight to save the planet from ourselves. So the Rotary Foundation is made up of three main funds: the Polio Plus Fund, the Annual Fund, and the Endowment Fund. These three funds are the tools the foundation uses to provide all of its grants and programs. So these funds are all funded primarily by contributions made by you, Rotarians. What happens is Rotarians make a contribution to the foundation, and when they decide to do that, it's up to you to decide whether you contribute to the Polio Plus Fund, in which case those donations go directly to polio eradication, or you can donate to the Annual Fund or the Endowment Fund, in which case donations to those two funds go into what's called, what Rotary calls the share system. And from the share system, that is where the funds are then dispersed out into two pots of funds called the World Fund and the District Designated Funds. And that's where we get our money as a district to fund all of the district project grants that we have available. You can also donate directly to a global grant if you want to. So let's take a quick look at each fund, starting with Polio Plus. So in 1979, Rotary International President James L. Bomer Jr. gave the first drops of oral polio vaccine to children at a health center in Guadalupe, Viejo, Philippines. And Rotary's fight to eradicate polio had begun. In 1985, the Polio Plus Fund was created with one singular purpose: eradicate polio from the planet. Sounds simple? Certainly is not. All of the contributions to Polio Plus go towards grants providing polio vaccines, mobilizing community resources, and supporting operational costs related to efforts to immunize children and to detect and track cases of polio worldwide. And we are this close to accomplishing our goal. Rotarians have contributed more than $2.1 billion to the cause, to go along with thousands of hours of volunteer time, and we are 99.9% of the way there. With great partners like the Gates Foundation, commitments from various governments from around the world, and the continued support of Rotarians, we will get that number down to zero. So our district's most recent contribution to the cause was the Move for Polio campaign that was spearheaded by End Polio Now Chair Marlene Doherty and DG Martin. So it generated $76,000 in donations. And thanks to the Gates Foundation, all donations to Polio Plus are matched 2-to-1, giving us a total contribution of $228,000 towards the fight to end polio. The Endowment Fund. The Endowment Fund ensures that Rotary will retain its strength in perpetuity. Its purpose is to ensure the long-term viability of the Foundation's grant program. And so how does it do that? Well, typically, gifts to the endowment are commitments such as a provision in a person's will or estate plan that names the Rotary Foundation endowment as a beneficiary. It can also be outright gifts of cash, investments, and other property. Whatever you want to give them, they'll take. But really, the endowment fund is all about legacy, and particularly your Rotary legacy. What makes that fund a little different is that the principal gift to the endowment fund is never spent. The gift is invested, and a portion of the earnings are then put back into the gift. and another portion is used to fund projects through the share system. So year after year, your gift grows, and it is continually providing funds for grants, somewhat like the Calgary Rotary Club's foundation does for the members of that foundation. There are various options available for the endowment fund. You can name your fund, and you can also specify how the funds are used from your gift. So the endowment fund really allows you to decide how your legacy will change the world. And in our district, we currently have 14 endowment funds that we receive money from. The annual fund. So this is the one with the most to talk about, as it does a lot of the heavy lifting for the foundation. So the annual fund is the main source of funding for all things Rotary. In 2019-2020, Rotarians invested $123.6 million into the annual fund. So how does that money get into the fund? How does the district and then the clubs, and then ultimately, how do our communities benefit from that? Well, all contributions to the annual fund come from you. There are two streams of thought for giving to the annual fund. There's the Giving Today stream, which includes things like donations in memory or tribute to someone, recurring giving through the Rotary Direct system, and of course, through one-time donations. The other stream is your Rotary legacy. So this is all about the long term. It's planned giving. It's gifts to the endowment fund, which work in conjunction with the annual fund in the share system, or it's giving to a specific global grant. So how do you give to the Rotary Foundation? Well, there's a number of ways to give to the Rotary Foundation. The easiest way is to set up a recurring giving program through Rotary Direct. With Rotary Direct, you can set up monthly, quarterly, or annual donations right through My Rotary. Probably the most common way is to simply go to My Rotary and click on the donate button and make a one-time donation. And for those of you that want to kick it old school, you can absolutely give a check to your club foundation chair or mail your gift directly to the foundation. The one thing that all of those methods have in common is that you're able to designate not only which fund you're going to give the money to, but you can also designate which area of focus that you want to give your support to, making sure that your dollars are doing what's important to you. So TRF understands the importance of your donations, and it also understands the importance of you being recognized for your various levels of support. And they have a fairly robust recognition program. So beginning with a Paul Harris Fellow for contributions of $1,000 US or more to the annual Polio Plus Fund, you can get up to Paul Harris Plus 8, and you get a cool pin. Every time you get Paul Harris another $1,000, you get another pin that gets nicer and nicer as we go. Another way is you can become the member of the Paul Harris Society. And what that is you go online, fill out a form, and basically you're committing to Rotary that you will commit $1,000 a year or more a year to the annual fund or the Polio Plus Fund. And if you do that, you will become a member of the Paul Harris Society. So when you run out of Paul Harris's, you move on to major donor status. So there are 4 levels of major donor status, beginning at $10,000 excuse me, going up to $249,000. So these are cumulative. So once you've got, when you're at a Paul Harris +8, that means that you've donated $9,000. When you give that next $1,000, you will move into the major donor level. And because TRF loves a good pin, you get a cool pin for being a major donor. And then they ratchet up the recognition by giving you a crystal as well. When you get to $250,000, you reach the Arch Clump Society. And there are 6 levels of Arch Clump Society beginning at $250,000. And it goes all the way up to 10 million plus. When you reach that level, recognition includes an induction ceremony and your picture and bio in the Arch Clump Interactive Gallery at RI headquarters. Of course, there's a pin, there's a crystal, and you get some special invites to different events. It's kind of like now you got the VIP card to Rotary. In our district, we actually have 8 Arch Clump Society members in the district, including one at the top level of Platinum Foundation circles. So if you want to include the endowment fund as a beneficiary of $1,000 or more in your estate plan, or if you just donate $1,000 or more to the endowment fund outright, you get recognized as a benefactor. No pin, but you get a certificate and a little insignia to wear with your Paul Harris pin. If you make a commitment for future gifts of $10,000 or more, you're invited to be a member of the Bequest Society. There are 6 levels from $10,000 to $500,000 in the Bequest Society. And at this point, you're back in the pin game. So you get some pins and still more crystals. And you also get some special seating at RI conventions. And the Legacy Society, as if you promise a gift of $1 million or more to the endowment fund, you get listed in Rotary's annual report. You get the sweet special invites to RI and foundation events to go along with all the other stuff that the Bequest Society members receive. And all the while you're donating to the fund, you're earning foundation points. So you get 1 point for every dollar donated to the annual fund or the Polio Plus fund. You can choose to use these points to top up your own donations to get to the next level of Paul Harris, or you can choose to use your points to give a Paul Harris to somebody else. Your club is also earning Paul Harris points, and those can be used to maybe entice donations. For example, your club could offer to match contributions with Paul Harris points, so that if a member donates $500, the club will kick in 500 foundation points, and then that would entitle that person to get a Paul Harris. Of course, there's recognition for clubs. There's the 100% Paul Harris Fellow Club. As you guessed it, that means all members are Paul Harris Fellows. 100% foundation giving. All members are a member of the Paul Harris Society. The 100% Rotary's Promise. All members of the club are benefactors. And there's the Every Rotarian Every Year award. And what that is at least every member of the club has to have personally donated at least $25 to the annual fund or the Polio Plus fund, and that the club has to average $100 per capita in order to receive the Every Rotarian Every Year. So if they So there are, of course, district recognition as well. We recently were awarded 3 awards from Zone 28 for district giving. We had the highest annual fund donations per capita, the highest annual fund donations, and the total foundation donations for Rotary Zone 28. The total foundation donations is the combination of donations to the annual fund and the Polio Plus Fund combined. And for those of you who don't know, Zone 28 is made up of 21 districts, has 1,055 Rotary clubs in it, and just under 34,000 Rotarians. So we should be very proud of ourselves and maybe give ourselves a pat on the back that we have reached the top of that hill on donations. And as impressive as that is, I think the most impressive thing I saw was that we did over $1 million in donations to the annual fund last year, which is actually up almost $100,000 from the previous year. To me, that really shows what Rotarians and Rotary is all about. When our communities needed us the most, we stepped up and gave like never before, despite the train wreck of a year that we're all going through. So what happens to all that money? Well, so all the contributions to the annual fund and from the endowment go into the Rotary share system. It goes into the system where it's held for 3 years, invested, and the earnings off of that investment for those 3 years are used to help cover the costs of RI's administrative expenses. It's this system that allows our foundation to maintain less than 10% of in administration costs. So some foundations spend 25, 30% of their money on admin and overhead. The Rotary Foundation spends less than 10. So when those 3 years are up, the money gets split into 2 pots. There's the World Fund and the district designated funds. The World Fund is looked after by the Rotary Foundation and is used at the foundation trustees' discretion. And basically the World Fund is the pot of money that all of the matching grants come from for global grants. And the district designated funds are sent back to the districts, and it is up to the districts to decide how those funds are distributed. So when the district designated funds come back to the district, it gets split into 2 again, with 50% of the money going towards district projects, 50% of the money going towards global grant or international projects. So focusing on what the district has something to do with, the district projects are broken into 5 different grant types. There are community development grants, undergraduate scholarships, youth programs, travel and vocational training teams. And on the global grant or international side, there's 2 main grants called Lead Club and Supporting Club. And Global Scholarship and Rotary Peace Centers also come out of that pool of money. So in order to get any money, your club to get any money, any grants, you have to first qualify to be able to receive district grants. This is an extension of the fact that the district needs to qualify with the Rotary Foundation in order to receive the money that we disperse, and then the clubs now have to qualify with the district to get the money. Just trying to make sure that the stewardship and governance of the funds is streamlined and everything is on the up and up, and everybody knows what's going on. The qualifications aren't very hard. There's only 3 of them. One, somebody from your club has to attend the grants qualification workshop that happens every October. This is a mandate from TRF. We have to do the grant seminar, and somebody has to go to it. Clubs need to contribute an average of $50 US per member to the annual fund, and the club board has to agree and approve the MOU with the district. And that MOU outlines the responsibilities the club has in receiving funds, including the reporting requirements, the financial plan, and the timelines. So the district DDF for local projects, mostly local projects, are all handed out in Canadian funds. And these are kind of the big three: the community development grants, undergraduate scholarships, and youth programs. Community development grants can be local or international, so it's not entirely local grants. But there is a 3-to-1 match to a maximum of $7,500 for a community development grant. So your club puts up $2,500, you'll get $7,500 from the district. So you have $10,000 to do a project. For the scholarships and youth programs, there's a 2-to-1 match up to a maximum of $2,000. So $1,000 from the club gets you $2,000, and you have $3,000 to spend. Each club is able to apply for 2 of each type of these grants per year. They have to be prioritized 1 and 2 because how the system works is once all the applications come in, the district grant subcommittee looks at all the priority ones. And then if there's money left over, we start on priority 2s. So you do have to prioritize them. We don't really talk much about travel grants and vocational training teams. In particular, because TRF has been travel for the last 2 years, so there hasn't been any. So we just kind of focus on these 3. So in 2021, with community development grants inside the district, we had 35 different projects. 27 were local, 8 were international, and we had 29 different clubs doing those projects. And for a total of $292,000 back into the community. The projects that were done were wide-ranging and quite varied. They included projects like the development of a virtual reality tour app for the Nika Yuko Japanese Gardens in Lethbridge. There were a few clubs that pulled their grants together to put towards a child and adolescent mental health park in Calgary, and the Rotary Club of Canmore used their grant to refurbish a school in Cambodia. So there are 14 clubs that are using district scholarship grants, in which they've handed out 16 different grants. Handed out $30,000 worth of support to students entering their first year of post-secondary, which can be university, college, or trade school. And there were 8 youth program grants for a little over $14,000 that have been awarded. Youth programs have really been hit hard by this pandemic, as they have actually been canceled for the last 2 years. So fingers crossed, we're going to get them back for this summer. But it should be noted that the real challenge that they had was that because of the timelines and reporting requirements, all of these grants, scholarship, youth, and community development, the funds have to be used and reported on within 2 years of receiving the grant. If you're unable to do that, then the club has to return the money to the district, and the district has to then return the money to the Rotary Foundation. Now, we don't actually lose that money. The Rotary Foundation will then turn around and give it back to us, but they will give it back to us in the international side of things. So we lose the ability to use those funds locally, but we do still get to use the funds. We have to do it internationally. So this 2-year timeline has really thrown a wrench into youth programs because the clubs that had youth program grants in 2019 were supposed to have use it up by September of this year. And we haven't had any youth programs for 2 years, so they could not spend their money. And as a result, needed to return that money. Unfortunately, that's unfortunate. It seems like it kind of should have been a bit of a no-brainer that they just extend the timeline for us, since it was through no fault of anybody's that these things were canceled. But that decision was a decision made by TRF, and they did not extend anything. So unfortunately, youth programs had to be returned. So the international side of things is, first off, it's always everything in the international side is always done in US dollars. And the international stream looks at global grants, the Peace Center, and global scholarships. Peace Center and global scholarships are done at the district level on behalf of all the clubs, and of course the global grants are done at by the clubs themselves. So the global scholarship is a $30,000 US scholarship to attend 1 year graduate study outside of Canada in one of Rotary's 7 areas of focus. There's a pretty narrow pool of candidates, as the recipient for the grant must be a resident of District 5360, cannot be a Rotarian or their descendant or ancestor. And obviously they have to be doing a field of study that's within our area of one of our areas of focus. So unfortunately, last year we didn't receive a qualified candidate, but we have had excellent recipients in the past. And our most recent global scholarship student, Sari Osada, had studied at the University of Oxford, will actually be one of the speakers at this year's district conference. In 2002, Rotary created the Rotary Peace Center to identify and train highly qualified professionals to become agents of peace. 6 Rotary Peace Centers at 7 universities throughout the world offer a master's program or a professional development certificate program relating to peace and conflict resolution. The district supports the Peace Centers with a $25,000 donation every year. And that's the extent of our involvement. We send a check. So global grants. This is what got me involved in Rotary to begin with. That's what got me involved with the foundation, and it's still the spark for me with Rotary. By definition, global grants support large international activities with sustainable, measurable outcomes in Rotary's areas of focus. Grant sponsors form international partnerships that respond to real community needs. That is a lovely definition. The way I look at it is global grants are just the absolute best way to leverage your funds and to get more funds and more projects out there in the world making a difference. So how does TRF do this? We do this through DDF and the World Fund. So kind of the process is the club has a project, they apply to the district and get some district designated funds. Those district designated funds are then rolled into a global grant funding model. The district designated funds are matched 80 cents on the dollar by the World Fund. The project is done, and we have happy, smiling people someplace in the world getting something that they really needed. We have 4 ways to get DDF to you in your project. The main 2 ways are through lead and supporting club grants. Supporting club DDF is $2,000 US from your club, gets you $5,000 in DDF. Each club is allowed 1 application a year. And then there are actually 2 pretty cool things that that happen with the supporting club is that one is that you can pool supporting club DDF. So if there is a project that's being led by a club and your club has decided to support it, your club can support it, another club can support it. You can have 2, 3, 4, 5 clubs all deciding to support that lead club, all putting that DDF towards that one project, which changes it fairly dramatically with the funding structure. The other cool thing is that supporting club DDF doesn't have to be applied to a global grant that's being led by somebody in our district. It can be applied to a global grant that's done anywhere in the world. So, for example, we have a lot of snowbirds. So if you attend a meeting someplace else, quite often during the winter months, and their club is doing a global grant, your club can send its supporting club DDF to that club's project if they like. So that's kind of cool. For lead club DDF, it's $4,000 from the club, gets you $15,000 in district funds, district designated funds. Every club is allowed to have 3 applications a year, and that's there's also a way to 99%, sorry, I get confused. The other thing I would say is that the lead club, it doesn't matter if you're the host club or the international club. When you do a global grant, every global grant has to have a host Rotary club, which is the club in the country where the project is being done. The international club is from outside the country and supporting it. We can be the host club or the international club, but we've only ever had one global grant done in our district, so we are almost always the international club. But hopefully we'll find a way to make that different, and we can do some more grants in our own district. But when it comes to the matching, a couple of years ago, TRF changed the rules and no longer matched any club cash contributions to a global grant. They only matched the DDF. So in an effort to get more DDF into clubs' hands so that they could take advantage and leverage those funds in the World Fund, we added the ability to receive one-to-one matching of DDF over the $4,000 original amount to receive DDF up to a $15,000 maximum. So what I'm trying to say poorly is say your club had $10,000 of cash, they put $10,000 in, the first $4,000 would trigger the $15,000 of DDF. The next 6,000 would get matched one-to-one, and you'd receive an additional 6,000, up to a maximum of being able to receive an additional 15,000. So if your club had $19,000, you would max it out. And that's all US dollars. And the last way to get DDF is if your global grant includes a vocational training team, you can get an additional $5,000 of DDF. And a vocational training team is used to take a team of professionals to a location to teach other local professionals. So for example, if you're doing a global grant and you wanted to take a team of doctors and nurses someplace to teach something new, maternal health care, to a team in Uganda or something like that, you can use vocational training teams to do that, and you get your extra money. So that's a lot of numbers, a lot of grants. What does it all look like for real? So a quick look at a funding model using the minimum amount of contributions as a lead club. Looks like this. Your club would put in 4, you'd get your 15,000 DDF, it'd be matched 80%, and you would end up with $31,000. So the magic of Rotary math is that your $4,000 US has now become $31,000 US for you to go out and do some good. So that's impressive. But I've been around Rotary long enough to know that they don't generally think in minimums. They like to think in maximums. So if you've maxed out all of the contributions available and say managed to get a couple of clubs on board with supporting your club, with supporting your grant, it would look like this, and you would end up with $104,000 to work with, which is mind-boggling, quite frankly. But we can do the things like that. So last year was an absolutely incredible year of collaboration on the global grant front within our district. We had 24 global grant DDF applications for projects in 9 countries, totaling $252,000 US. The countries, as you can see, are from one side of the product to the other. The amazing part of the collaboration here was that we actually had three global grant projects account for 13 of those applications because of the supporting grant and pooling. And leading the way with that is the Rotary Club of Heritage Parks Save Lake Atilan project that Rotarian Bill Skinner has been all over for years, getting this together. And through his hard work and the rest of the clubs, they managed to get 5 other clubs on board with supporting grants in addition to his own lead club grant. And this project is going to provide potable water and sanitation and wash training for 2 communities around the lake, benefiting over 2,000 people. A couple of other projects that took great advantage of the pooling was breast and cervical cancer diagnostics in Sierra Leone, led by Calgary West, and a 3D limbs in Sri Lanka project led by Calgary Centennial. And both of those clubs managed to get three supporting clubs each involved with their projects as well. And the really nice thing, if you look at all 3 of those projects, is although those 3 in particular were led by Calgary clubs, they all had supporting clubs from outside of Calgary. So it's really a good example of the whole district coming together behind great projects and working together to take advantage of all the tools that are available to us. And this Rachel project for Patan is an example of the power of the supporting grant being able to be used on a project led outside of our district. This project is being led by an American club and a Guatemalan club, and it's going to provide an education system for rural villages where the internet is not readily accessible to them. And these 3 clubs found this project and decided that they wanted to support it, and were able to do so through the power of our supporting clubs grant. So the dreaded grants webinar, as one might expect, with so many different options available for types of grants and timelines and requirements. We have to have this 3-hour-long grants webinar every year that somebody has to go to. It sounds like a long time, but it is a ton of information that gets gone that we go through. You can go online because this year's has already happened. You can go online and watch it at the grants website, which is rotary5360.org. And there's all kinds of information on that website. All the application forms are there. And there's also a ton of information on myrotary.org about global grants and anything to do with grants, quite frankly. And there are also a couple of really excellent courses at the Learning Center on myrotary.org. Oh, the summary. Finally, we're coming to the end of me talking. But first, it may have been me talking, but there is a large team of people on the Rotary Foundation committee There's this team of Rotarians is stretched all across the district, working the various aspects of the Rotary Foundation. And each one of these people on the screen is dedicated to making sure our district is using every tool that TRF provides for us, that everyone has equal and fair access to them, that the funds are looked after and governed, and the stewardship of those funds is top notch. And we even have people that are available to help with fundraising as well. And they just do a fantastic job. This is my first year as in the role of foundation chair, and having the support of this team has just been fantastic. I can't thank them all enough. So, quick summary for you. So TRF is the charitable arm of Rotary International. The Rotary Foundation is here to enable Rotarians to do good in the world. It does that by using Polio Plus annual and endowment funds. It belongs to you, the Rotarians that fund it. There are multiple ways to donate and multiple ways to be recognized for doing so. Quite simply, our district is awesome at supporting the foundation. We are the envy of districts all over the place. And we do an unbelievable amount of good with the grants that we have available to us and the work that all of the Rotarians put into it. That is enough of me talking for now. I want to show a video that I made for my club to help get them engaged and get them put a face to all these things that we were talking about, all these numbers and grants. I wanted my club to be able to see what was happening with the funds that we're using. So I apologize. It was clearly focused on my club at this point, but hopefully we'll be able to make one up for the district coming forward. So I'll just play this. It's just a 3-minute video. And here we go.
Gracias a los amigos canadienses. Gracias, Luz Verde. Thank you.
That's it. Thanks, everyone. I will say that, like I said, I would be happy to make a video that is more reflective of the entire district. But I just need people to send me images or video clips and let me know about your projects. Can't make anything without that info. Hopefully we can get something put together by district conference time. But that's it for me. You can always email me anytime you want. And I think we're going to open it up for some questions. So what should be done if your club is not recognizing their Paul Harris or major donors? You should definitely be hassling your club and making sure that they do that. You should talk to your president, talk to your club's foundation chair, and barring that, by all means, reach out to me and I'll reach out to them and I would be happy to come to any club and present Paul Harris Foundation awards or major donor awards if your club would like to do that. Should more publicity be given to how grants? Yes, absolutely. More publicity should be. I think it's a real struggle that a lot of clubs have. We don't really talk about ourselves too much. We really need to, and that can be on your own club's website. We need to submit more stories to the bulletin so that there are other clubs in the district know what your clubs are up to. Social media, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, all those things. We should absolutely be tooting our own horn, so to speak. We all do amazing things, and other people need to know about it, and not just, and more so, just so other people know what we do, and it'll bring more opportunities. It may bring more membership. If the more people know about the things and the kind of things that happen at Rotary, the better for all of us. How do you get a Paul Harris Society flag? I don't actually know the answer to that, but I do know that I can shoot off an email to somebody that does and find out. If you want to let me, either email me or, because I don't know who wrote that question, but I will absolutely look into that and get back to you. Yeah, can you put my email address back on the screen? I can do that. Can you elaborate on what our district members can do when they attend clubs in sunnier climates? Well, I would suggest that if they're going to attend meetings in some, you should find out what those clubs are doing, and if they have any, what kind of projects they're doing, and bring that back to your club. Because like I said, through the supporting grants, we can certainly support projects that are being led outside of our own district. And even district grants, if there's something happening in that community where you spend your winter, you can certainly use your community development grants and to help out with those types of projects as well. How do I, as a foundation chair, find out what contributions have been made? Yeah, so the report is, if you log into my Rotary and you go under the foundation reports, you can see all of that stuff through there. It looks like Rick is maybe typing that correct answer there for you too. Will the presentation be available for actions in the future? I assume it is. It was recorded, so I assume it is. And did we manage to get my email up there again? I can't see any.
Just give me a sec here. There's Jamie's email.
What I've done to my own screen here, but I can't see anything. So
Okay, so hopefully everybody's marked that down.
so I think that's everything. And again, if my email's up there, by all means, email away. Although I do see that Bill Skinner's on here, and he may send out a warning that you might have to wait a couple of days for me to get back to you, but I will get back to you.
Any other questions from everybody? Please type them into the question and answer area. It's my understanding this presentation will be posted, a recording of it onto the district website in the near future. That's Rick's job. So if there's no more questions, I'd like to thank you, Jamie, for a very informative presentation. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank everybody else for attending tonight. Have a great evening.